Hello friends, this is Rwandan team. We welcome you to Wellspring Gala. We work with thousands of students and thousands of teachers and thousands of parents. And we do all this for quality education. So we thank you for your support. We can't do this work without you. And we thank you and we love you so much.
Welcome back to the Stay Home Gala. We are on day 3. Turakumwe, we are together. We hope that you have enjoyed engaging with the films, the discussion, the conversations that we had yesterday. It was just such a great day, such a amazing new video that we've released. We have another one today that we'll be showing you a little bit later. I want to start off with how you can be praying for the Wellspring team today. We've heard directly from Rwanda about some requests. First, there's been some significant heavy rains in the past week in Rwanda, which have led to some deaths and many homes have been destroyed. One of the schools in Gasabo has lost a student in the last floodings earlier this week. The school has offered to shelter 14 families that have been affected by the heavy rain. So please pray for these families in particular, but also for others across the country who are affected by the rains. We have 2 staff members as well who are quite sick at the moment. Please pray that they get the treatment that they need. You could also be praying for strength and good concentration for our drivers who are working long hours as part of the national COVID-19 response. And we showed you a little bit about that yesterday. And if you didn't see it, you could go back and check yesterday's stream to see a bit more about what's happening there. Also be praying for families in Rubavu affected by the loss of income and the ability to feed their families well. And again, pray for the families in Rubavu and Gasabo who have children at home with disabilities or special education needs to help them know how to best support their children during this time. We also got a morning update from Rwanda as well. Things are changing on a daily basis with COVID-19 and everything going on. So there's a lot happening. Andy's going to share a little bit more later today about the work that we're currently involved in as part of our COVID-19 response. But for now, there's one quick update that we received this morning. And we learned today that all of the food we have provided so far to some of the neediest families in Rubavu, there was 10,000 kilograms of maize flour and 5,700 kilograms of beans that has now all been distributed into the 5 sectors. So these are the sectors that are most affected by the lockdown due to the fact that most of the families depend on cross-border trade, small business or other income generating work, and they are now unable to carry that out. So most in these sectors do not farm or grow their own food. Given that there's still a great need, we are going ahead with purchasing another installment of maize and beans that we'll be distributing throughout our partners in Rubavu. I don't remember the exact amounts of that, but it's a lot. And so that's really good. So thank you for being part of making that possible through your generous giving by engaging with the Stay Home Gala and responding to the needs that we're sharing. So you are helping to make an immediate difference to the children that we serve. We're going to shift into our morning segment with Sharon and Quentin, and I have them here on Skype. I'm going to bring them up in just a second, but as we launch into this program, I'm really happy to have these guys joining me. We are going to hear from some partners as well. So Sharon is in Stony Creek, Ontario, and in Abbotsford, we have Quentin. I'm going to bring these guys up on screen here now. So there is Quentin. Quentin is our Western Development Officer. How are you doing this morning, Quentin?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Jason, for having us on.
That's awesome. I'm going to intro Sharon now all on her own as well. So Sharon, no, we're still on Quentin. It says Sharon, but there she is. How are you doing, Sharon?
I'm good. Thank you, Jason.
You are our
nice to see you, Quentin.
Thank you, Sharon.
You are a development assistant, right? So I changed your title from what we have on the website because it just wouldn't all fit on the screen. But you are doing actually so much more than just helping out Louise now, right? So that is awesome.
Yes.
That is awesome. So let's go in. I'm going to bring both of you up. There we go. Side by side on the screen together. So today, Yeah, you guys are going to be sharing some interviews with us as we continue to delve into some of the stories and lives here in Canada that have been transformed by that interaction with Rwanda and its story. Tell us some more.
Thank you, Jason. Turakumwe, everyone. Welcome. We are together. It was a great day yesterday. Sharon, would you mind sharing with us what was your favorite moment from day 2?
I had a couple of them. I do want to say a shout out to you and Lisa and your little video in the morning. That is awesome. What a great way to start our day. It was very cute. And so thank you, Lisa, for being a real trooper and doing that. For me, I think the interview with Donna and Alan Lampshed, when they were talking about their last trip to Rwanda, and when they had the opportunity to visit the school that they sponsor. And while they were there, I believe the Lord gave them a beautiful gift, because one of the mothers came over to them with a picture of her son, put it on her heart, and through the interpreter was able to thank Alan and Donna personally, to say, thank you for that support. My son has gone through primary school. He has graduated through secondary school. And I thought, what a beautiful testimony to them for what, they're supporting in Wellspring and what we're doing on the ground and what our team's doing on the ground in Rwanda. So that, for me, that was a very special moment. And I say kudos to them for being brave enough to do the video for us as well. Yes. So how about you, Quentin? What was your favorite moment?
Hands down, my favorite moment was the interview with Beatrice, one of our teacher trainers on the ground in Rubavu. I mean, talk about passion. Talk about someone who can speak with experience and gumption and tenacity about what the reality is for students in our schools, but especially young girls. I was so touched with how she was able to speak very poignantly about a sensitive topic. And we speak a lot about the wonderful theory behind the change that Wellspring helps to enact in Rwanda and through education. But she really put her finger on the rubber on the road topics of early pregnancy, some of the other pitfalls of society that young girls can find themselves getting trapped in without the support of a community and a teacher base behind them who really have their best interests at heart. I was really touched with her passion for seeing young girls especially empowered to be what she calls mothers of the country, to stand tall and proud and to really grab hold of their best life for them in their future. I may have shed a little tear. I'm not confirming that or denying it, but it was moving. It was touching. What did you feel of that yesterday?
Oh, for me, I can confess that I did share tears. It was straight from her heart, and you could just feel that passion. And it was just so beautiful to see her express that and her desire to make that difference for those girls. And when she said, that they'll be the future mothers of a country, that spoke to me very deeply as well. It was just wonderful.
So I understand that you had an interview with a very special person recently. And would you mind telling us a little bit more about what we're going to be seeing next?
Certainly. On Monday, I had the opportunity to interview Linda Milkey. And as some of you may know, Linda was our very first development officer out here in the East, all by her lonesome. Wellspring had hired her on, and she was with Wellspring for just over 5 years, recently retired last June. I can't believe it's been 10 months already. But she agreed to come online and have me interview her and share her heart. And you'll see, she was in the zone. It was beautiful to see her once again step in to her Wellspring heart and just shared it so eloquently. So I know that Jason's going to cue that up for us soon.
Yes, she's the best, everyone. Don't miss it.
We're so glad that you've joined us this morning. And I'm very, very excited because we have the lovely and very talented Linda Milkey joining us this morning. Good morning, Linda.
Good
How are you?
morning.
Thank you so very much for being willing to come on and share your heart about Wellspring. And for those of you who may not know, Linda is our very first regional development director out here in the East. She was hired approximately almost 6 years ago. Would you say that, Linda? About 6 years ago.
Right, yes.
And she was all by herself out here, and she developed the Eastern area, along with God, of course, and then the help of some assistants that came along after. And it was about 3 years ago that Linda took a chance on me and hired me to assist her. And it was an awesome journey that we shared together. So last year, the Lord prompted Linda to leave Wellspring and to retire just as a regional development director. And man, I can't believe it's almost been a year, Linda. Where has that time gone?
I'm not sure.
I know, it's kind of crazy. But we thank you for your hard work, your dedication, and your love, because you laid the foundation that Louise Luton and I are able to run with out here in the East. And you developed some amazing relationships with our partners. And it's just been incredible to see how you have taken that and nurtured those people and loved them and formed that foundation that we can continue on. So I thank you for that.
Thank you for saying that. It's been my entire total pleasure.
Yeah, and you gave 110%. You're definitely, you and Louise are both women of excellence, and it has been an honor and a privilege for me to work alongside you both. So we do have a few questions for you, and if you don't mind, we'll just delve right in. So my first question is, in those 5 years that you were with Wellspring, you had the privilege of going to Rwanda 4 times. And during the visit to the place of 1,000 hills, which I know is absolutely amazing, lush and beautiful, you had the opportunity to meet with the team, our Rwandan family, and those people that you had been working alongside. What is it about that team that you can share with us that inspired you, or just share your insight on that family that we have there?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Sharon, let me just say, one of the best things we ever did, or I ever did, together with our CEO, Andy Harrington, was to hire you. You were a continual source of encouragement and blessing to me. And of course, you are efficient and effective in all that you do. And I know that this continues as you now serve together with Louise, the person who has so aptly stepped into my shoes and is just doing a bang up job. So thank you for coming alongside and helping me during my time with Wellspring. Where do I begin when it comes to the Rwanda team? Let me focus on 3 attributes. First of all, their commitment to the task, regardless of the challenges they face. I was reminded this morning of a video that I received from Rwanda just a short while before I retired, showing 3 of our amazing teacher trainers who, in order to get to a very rural school, had to cross over a log bridge spanning a river below. And I remember just tearing up as I watched the video, knowing that one misstep could have put that team member into the river below. And that kind of commitment is worthy of recognizing and honoring. The second thing I thought of was their servant-hearted leadership. Putting the needs of others ahead of their own is primary to all they do. And during each of my visits to Rwanda, I saw this wonderful attribute displayed time and time again, and every single day that I was there. Not only are they absolutely among the best people that I've ever met, they are brilliant and fully qualified for the work that they've been called to do. I remember on my flight back from my first visit to Rwanda, I found myself praying this prayer. Father, if I have ever even subconsciously thought that we North Americans have an edge on brilliance and brains, please forgive me. I so wish, honestly, that all our Wellspring supporters could meet these precious people. They truly are the best of the best.
You have really captured the heart and spirit of that team with those 3 words. Thank you. And yeah, a resounding yes. I know everyone on the Wellspring team here in Canada would definitely say totally yes. You nailed that. Yeah, they are precious, brilliant, committed, and servant heart for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would be the areas of impact of our work in Rwanda that you would like to share? I know we are involved in so many things, and it takes me back to my interview on the phone with Andy and with you. And I remember Andy saying to me, he said, Sharon, what you've seen, maybe at 4 stages or at the gala, is just a small part of what we do at Wellspring. And I had no idea how true that was until I came on. And it's just been over a period of time that I've come to realize we have our fingers in so many areas, so many pieces of the pie. But what are the biggest areas of impact in your time with Wellspring that really were significant for you or that you noted?
Oh boy, like where do I begin, right? As you said, there's so many areas of impact. But again, as I was thinking about it today, I thought, how can you argue with test scores that are rising? How can you argue with dropout rates that are declining? How can you not be impressed and impacted personally because students are now moving from primary school to secondary school when that was not the case before Wellspring started working there. And they're completing their high school education, and some are even heading off to university. That was just unheard of when I first started. Precious little girls are finally being seen as worthy of an education, just like the boys are. Oh my goodness, I'm going to start tearing up here.
I know,
Parents
me too.
are now working to not only grow gardens to help with feeding students and teachers during the day, but they are also building fences around the school property to keep the children from wandering off. They're setting up water washing stations. They're building special rooms for girls to have a sense of privacy during their menstrual periods. And they're going out into the community to encourage parents to send their children, especially little girls, to school. I think also something that has impressed me so much over the years that I have been involved, and even still, Wellspring is having such an amazing impact on the Rwandan government and its Ministry of Education. I remember the excitement we all felt when we learned that Wellspring had been invited to assist with the drafting of new curriculum for all schools in Rwanda, and also invited to help the Ministry of Education set up their 5-year strategic plan. Like, what NGO gets that kind of invitation? And it just tells me again and again the respect that Wellspring has at those higher levels of the Rwandan government. You know what? There is so much that could be said, but I'll stop there in reference to time.
No, that you spoke so well about all of that, Linda, and everything that you've said is entirely true. I guess my last and final question for you, and thank you so much for sharing your heart with us and almost making me cry, which I know you know is very easy to do. What is it about Wellspring that connects most deeply to your heart? And I know a lot of it you may have already shared, but is there anything further that you would like to share with those that are listening now?
Of course. I mean, what grabs my heart the most is that almost 200,000 precious children are receiving quality Christian values-based education. And as a result, they're being given the gift of a much, much brighter future. And of course, this wouldn't happen if Wellspring didn't work first with the 4 key stakeholders responsible for the children's educational success, namely the district leaders, school leaders, teachers, and parents. Knowing that the children are being encouraged and affirmed and valued from every angle is, to me, incredibly exciting and honestly so worthy of my support. I have seen for myself that community transformation really is possible when an entire community comes together in support of its children. This wouldn't be happening were it not for Wellspring's impact in the schools and communities where the team works. So as a supporter and former teammate and still an ambassador always for Wellspring, there is no other organization that I can recommend more highly than Wellspring. It is led by an incredible, brilliant, servant-hearted team of experts for whom I have the greatest respect, both here in Canada and Rwanda. So I pray daily that more and more people will catch the vision and support this amazing ministry. All right. That's about it for me. I love Wellspring. I love its people. I love the Rwandan people. And I am so grateful that the history that Rwanda experienced 27 or whatever years ago, that is the thing of the past. And
Amen.
These people are moving forward with grace. And as my husband said, when we returned from our 2016 trip together to Rwanda, when we got back, I said to him, okay, now that you've seen and heard and you've had time to process, what is it that stands out in your mind the most? And I thought he might say, the beauty of Rwanda. I never expected it to be so safe. But his words were just very quickly, he said, the power of forgiveness and reconciliation. And that is exactly what has happened. And so much of that is happening because of this amazing organization, the Wellspring Foundation for Education. So that you can tell my heart is full. And I'm so pleased to be able to share this time with you.
Linda, thank you. Thank you. You have definitely shared your heart. I know I jokingly said to you once, you can take the girl out of Wellspring, but you can't take Wellspring out of the girl.
No.
It's in your DNA. And I think in one of our partner moments, and you maybe haven't seen it yet, but you will, Tim Shaw says something. He said that everyone that works for Wellspring, it's not just a job, it's in their DNA. And for me, I know years ago in the corporate world, I'd sit at my desk and I'd say, Lord, please give me something that I can be a part of that's making an impact for your kingdom. Oh boy, a bunch of saps out here in the East. Anyhow, and he has done that. And so for those of you who are watching, my heart, our desire, both Linda and I, is that you would come alongside, however big or small, whether it's your prayers, whether you want to be a part of an event, whether you're just an ambassador at heart and just want to share that Wellspring message. We would so love to have you join us because not only are we seeing a nation changed, it changes us, as you have heard that from Linda's heart. So Linda, thank you. God bless you and Chuck. Thank you for taking this time today. We love you. We honor you. And I know we'll see you again soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. God bless you too. And the whole team, give my love to everybody, and just let them know I pray daily for each of you.
Thank you. Thank you. We love you. Thank
Love
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow. Sharon, do you have your box of Kleenex nearby?
No, but I wish I had. She made me cry all over again. Surprise, surprise. You just hurt her heart. And as I said, it's in her being, it's in her fiber, it's in her DNA. And Linda, we just want to say thank you. And to Chuck too, because Chuck, I know you supported her this whole time. And we just thank you for your love, your care. We honor both of you. And it's a privilege to continue to serve the people, your friends, the partners, the family that has been created out here in the East. And just to continue to work with that foundation that you so aptly put together with God's help. So we say, God bless you both. We love you, and you are forever part of this precious Wellspring family.
It is such a privilege to sit down and hear these stories. I had a chance to get to know Linda as well. Linda, you're the best. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Sharon and I also had the opportunity to spend some time recently with one of our newest school partners. Her name is Alita Thomas, and she shared why she has chose to support Wellspring, even in the middle of this challenging season. And what I love about this interview and why I was so excited going into it is this is someone who's brand new. She is bringing an objective perspective, and many of the wonderful people that we've talked to already, they've been walking with us for many, many years. But as you know, sometimes it's great to have someone come in from the outside who can share a fresh perspective, and this is what Alita brings. She's young, she's super sharp, and I know that everyone's going to appreciate this interview.
Hello, everyone. Today I am joined by Alita Thomas, and I am excited to have this chat because she is one of our newest school partners, which is exciting. So Alita, thank you for joining us today.
I'm glad to be here.
And Alita, if you wouldn't mind just going ahead and telling us from your heart, of all the charities you could support, why would you choose to become part of the Wellspring family?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the big question. Part of it, there's a few answers. So one is that I am an international development professional. I work in this field, so I'm pretty well versed on NGOs and nonprofits working in development, education, poverty alleviation across Canada, as well as in the Lower Mainland. And in that, I've been continually impressed by the work that Wellspring is doing, by the caliber of the way they're thinking through the work that you're doing, and the how and the why and the what. Another thing is I studied peace and conflict studies as part of my education. And so I specifically spent a lot of time looking at genocide and post-genocide reconstruction, which if you study that, it brings you to Rwanda. And so seeing the way that Wellspring has situated itself in education in Rwanda, and education as a tool for rebuilding post-genocide, post-atrocity, that's just something that I'm really passionate about, and I see Wellspring doing that really well.
Wow, that's so cool. And is there anything, you mentioned a lot of things there about that dovetail with what Wellspring is about. Is there anything in particular you'd like to highlight that you maybe have appreciated about Wellspring, or that sticks out to you?
Yeah, I think that Wellspring does something that's really important, is seeing education as part of the community transformation puzzle, but not the key, not the only key. And in that too, it's not just about getting students educated, it's about equipping teachers and classrooms and the whole education capacity of a nation. So seeing that if you can increase the capacity of communities, you're going to increase the capacity of their futures. And so I think I see that in the programming Wellspring is doing. It's a very multifaceted, tiered approach to education advancement, and that's really exciting.
Cool. Well, Alita, thank you so much for joining us today. We are thrilled to have you as part of as the newest member of our family, and thank you for taking your time.
Yeah, we're thrilled that we can be part of this in a really small way. So keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Alita, for joining me. She is very sharp, and I was just grateful to have that time with her. Sharon, I don't know if you're back yet, but wow, what did you think of that interview?
Wow. She's amazing. And
Yeah.
just to have someone new coming on like that and just understanding Wellspring and our mission was absolutely fantastic. And she articulated it so beautifully.
Yeah.
So, wow, well done.
I found it very validating that because of the background that she comes from, this is part of her world. She's a development professional. That was a lot of affirmation. So I really appreciated that time with her.
Yes.
So before we take a short coffee break, we have one more partner moment that we want to share. And this is someone who's special and dear to both of our hearts. And you know who this person is, right?
I do.
This is Janice Ryder. And can I share a true story with you?
Certainly.
Janice Ryder was, when I took a position at Trinity Western University, Janice Ryder was the lead of human resources, and she was the person who very aptly and competently onboarded me. And oh boy, I was nervous about chatting with her, but she was super kind, super nice, competent, and I'm excited now that I have this opportunity to introduce her. And she's absolutely lovely. Unfortunately, she has left this lovely part of Canada and left to go over to your side of Canada.
Yay.
So it's a loss for us and a gain for you. So here we have Janice Ryder.
Greetings, my name is Janice Ryder, and I'm speaking to you from Parry Sound, Ontario on beautiful Georgian Bay. I met Richard Taylor of Wellspring Foundation for Education in 2008. Richard was attending a seminar that I had been asked to provide by a foundation that was supporting Wellspring. And I was speaking about how organizations grow from a little seed of an idea in someone's mind to being a large, major organization. And I had this very bright young leader come up to me after the seminar and start telling me about this idea he had and how he was building this organization called Wellspring. And I was so taken by his inspired vision of taking an experience he had as a missionary kid and returning to Rwanda to help the kids that he had grown up with, basically. And taking that heart he had, that God had really placed this idea, I think, in his mind and his heart to serve the children of Rwanda. So two things really connected for me in all that he had to say. One was his passion for educating children. The first career I had was in the elementary classroom. And I certainly have carried that, even though my work took me into human resource work and now leadership coaching. But the idea of catching children at their very impressionable ages and building up their sense of who God really made them to be was a real connect for us. Secondly, he was very keen and concerned about young girls in education and ensuring that they had the same opportunity as the boys did. And again, this really rang true for me. I was thrilled that here was a young man who even comprehended that that was an issue. And so I have had the privilege of journeying alongside Wellspring over the years since 2008, have hosted a couple of events at my home, gathering my friends to learn more about Wellspring, and also have been excited about Andy's leadership now and all that the future holds for Wellspring. As I mentioned, I think that we are biblically encouraged to come alongside others, to spur them on, to know God's love for them and for all that he wants them to be. So I am looking forward, as I say, to future opportunities to partner with Wellspring to provide quality education in Rwanda.
Thank you so much for joining us for this first segment of the day. Wellspring has always sought to see transformation in the lives of everyone involved in this work. The people that we serve in Rwanda, our team, our partners around the world. And it has been so great to share these individual stories, to hear from Linda again, to hear what, Alita, I was just blown away by her interview with Quentin there. Like, so good. And to hear from Janice as well. And so, yeah, it's just great to hear how people have engaged with our work, with our story, and more importantly, with Rwanda's journey. So we're going to take just a short break, about just over 20 minutes or so. We're back at 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern for a very exciting segment. We're going to premiere the second of our brand new films that you actually do not want to miss. So, as in that film, Rwandan students are going to be sharing about their experiences and their dreams for the future. And you'll catch a really beautiful glimpse of why we do what we do here at Wellspring. And a huge thanks to Quentin and Sharon. You made my life so easy this morning. You guys are just wonderful on camera together. We got to do this more often with you guys. So thank you guys so much. And we'll see you all back at 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern. Welcome back to Stay Home Gala. And here it is, our brand new film, The Impact of Quality Education.
When I was here in, I don't remember well, but it is in 2015. Yes, I was in P6 for sure. We were preparing for national exam in primary. I was really amazed by the hard working of the teachers here. When they were trying to show us the way the problem are solved, they give us the advice that are really good, and for sure we had to follow it. And I followed these ideas and those advices they gave us, and also I was so amazed and I scored the best marks in national exam.
When I was in this school, what made me happy is that our teachers were supportive and they were giving us opportunity to support others.
They did some exercises and quizzes in groups, and they had some free time to go and relax together as friends.
My favorite memories when I don't know the question. I go and ask teacher, and teacher explain for me deeply, and I know it.
Because we work with the parents and the teachers and the school leaders, I think it is what is matter. Yeah, to work with those who help the children, we empower them, and they in return empower the children, teach the children. So I think what is matter is those parents and teachers and school leaders.
Teaching is like to grow something, and when you educate, you can see how your child grow more than yesterday, and he become someone who is good for himself and for his society.
I saw that teachers changed a lot because they taught us different values like hygiene and cleanliness, helping each other, friendship, and so many other values.
My family helped me in studying. When I don't know things, they can explain to me. They encourage me to study very hard. They pay for me school fees. They give me school materials. And they give me food also, because you can study without eating.
Personally, I think Wellspring joined my feelings about education. To educate all person, not only to give knowledge, but all person, mind, singing, and so on, by values, by cross-cutting issues, and they sing not only one person but all society.
I would be a doctor because there are some viruses that are being many in these years, like coronavirus, Ebola, and I know I could study PCB so that I can treat those viruses.
I want to be entrepreneur.
In the future, I really like to be. I would like to be an inventor of any technology or an applications.
I want to be a doctor. I see that many people don't have enough doctors to take care of them because doctors are still few in our country.
The number of diseases is increasing and we have a shortage of doctors in our country. That is why I want to become a doctor.
I love my job because we know education is the future of our country. The foundation is education. We know that it is important today to help the children to raise their heads and hearts, and also help the community to come together to help those children, because one person cannot be sufficient. It is a matter of all people together. My dream is to have good leaders tomorrow, because now where my country where it is now, there is hope that this effort, this investment in education will continue to give hope for this future of Rwanda. Thanks.
Wow. What an amazing film. Thank you again to Jeff Heath for helping to put that together. Just so, it's so great to hear those students share what their hopes are for their futures. And I commented on the live stream there. I see I put a little typo in there, but it's not about them, right? They're looking to the future and how can they be contributing. How can they be part of the society? How can there seems to be a sense of caring for others, and that's just amazing to hear. It's so wonderful to hear from them and the leader at that school about the impact that Wellspring's work is having in their lives, just that transformative nature. As we continue on discussing the film, if you guys have any thoughts or reflections on that film, we'd love for you to comment on the live stream there. Our comms team is listening, and they will pass some questions on to us and let us share some of that. If you guys, we'd love to hear from you. We're going to keep discussing the film and digging a bit deeper into the impact that quality education is having in the lives of teachers and leaders and parents and students. And I'm pleased to be joined today by someone who very recently had spent 3 years in Rwanda, not only witnessing the impact, but was playing a huge part in it. So I'm going to welcome Joel Olson to the call.
Hi there.
Hey,
good to see you.
Hey, Joel. Yeah, I got you. It's you on your own up on the screen here right now. So yeah, it's so good to see you.
Great. Yeah. I spent 3 years in Rwanda, so we're back in Langley now, and it's adjusting back to life here. So good to see you.
Yeah, you too. And you're a teacher, right? So
yeah, I teach in the Langley School District.
You're teaching in the Langley School District, and how is that all going for you at the moment?
It's going pretty good. Times are different right now. I'm in my office working from home, online learning for my 29 students, so it's quite different, but all is well, and it's going really, really good.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what your role was in Rwanda and how was that experience for you?
Right. My role in Rwanda, we left in August 2016, and I went there with the intention to go work with the teachers and the school leadership, and things always change, kind of adjust. And then kind of how it solidified was I worked with the school leadership at the Wellspring Academy quite a bit,
Yep.
kind of a support role. It was never me doing things, but working with them. And then also the communication at the school, coming along local systems. So I brought all my wonderful North American ideas to Rwanda, but they didn't work, and that was okay. And I ended up finding a local organization literally 3 kilometers away from the Wellspring headquarters in Kigali, and used that to communicate. And it worked much better than my North American ideas, as well as coming along the Wellspring Foundation team in the office there and working on a new monitoring and evaluation system. And we're going to talk more about that later, but helping develop that, working again with a local company. So I could go on and on. I only have, unfortunately, as you know, I love Rwanda and I could talk about it all day, but unfortunately I can't today. So.
Yeah, I've got you up on the screen. I'm up with you on the screen now, so we're sharing it. But I know that you and I could probably go off on lots of tangents. And I think back to, when I think about Joel Olson and your time in Rwanda, I think of trying to find new, innovative ways to do things, to use technology to help us accomplish some of the goals, right? And Text It. That's the name of the product that you used. A local solution at the academy, fantastic. What you've helped out with Merit, which we're going to get into, just great. So today, as we're focusing in on the impact of Wellspring's work and the difference that quality education is making in the lives of Rwandan children, what were some of the ways in which you witnessed that during your 3 years in Rwanda?
Right. So I am one of those people that sat at the West End Bayshore in Vancouver for years, seeing the gala, and I'd watch the videos and I'd see the impact, but then not until I was actually there. And then I actually saw it firsthand. The impact was far wider and far more deep than I even thought possible. So, for example, all the way from the top policy level, the government, Wellspring was side by side with them, helping shape the national curriculum, all the way down to advisory groups underneath the government, down to leadership working in the schools, down to the teachers, down to the parents, down to the community, and just so many different things. I know your theme for this gala is Turakumwe. We're together.
Yeah.
And as John was just saying in that video, that is so true. Wellspring was in so many different, it's all the education sector, but just the width and the gap or the breadth that they work is truly amazing. And once I was there, I saw that all. And then I went to go see a training as well. I figured, okay, how good this could really be. And I was blown away about the training. I remember watching Teo. He's a master trainer there.
Yeah.
I walked away jumping up and down. Like, it was so exciting and how effective the training was. And a couple times I'd be scratching my head. What is he doing? Where is he going with this? But by the end, I was blown away at how powerful their training is. I saw parent training. I went to go see that at school, and again, very effective work. And it's not just North American staff coming over and doing things. That's also what I love about Wellspring. It's the Rwandans training Rwandans. It's not the Mzungu coming in and doing things. No, it's their own people training their own people. And that's awesome. That's the way it should be. And that's what Wellspring does.
Yeah, that's huge, right? So we're actually, in that film that we just watched, and I know you were probably just hearing it, but you have watched it before in prep for this, right? In that film, we heard perspectives of several students as well as a school leader, one of our Wellspring trainers. Throughout this week, we want to give everyone as many opportunities as possible to hear directly from our Rwandan team. These are the people who are doing the work on the ground. So kind of like what Joel was just talking about there. It's Rwandans working with Rwandans day after day. And nobody can explain it as well as they can, right? So, we're outsiders looking at it, explaining how it's all working. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share a couple of additional clips featuring two of our trainers. So one first is from Ernest, one of our quality education specialists, who's going to share some impact stories from the schools that we work in. And then I'm going to show another clip from Emmanuel, who's one of our community involvement trainers. And he's going to share about the impact that is being experienced in the wider community. So I'm going to roll those now, Joel. You're off the hook for a few more minutes. We'll come back and we'll talk about merit.
Yeah. Man, I miss those guys. They're wonderful.
All right. Here's Ernest.
Good afternoon, good people from Canada. How are you? I am Ernest Nhamugabo, Quality Education Specialist at Wellspring. Here, the transformation testimony is, at GS Buitereke in Rubavu district, there were conflicts between primary teachers and secondary teachers. They could not work in harmony. They could not share lunch together. They could not plan lessons together. They could not help one another. Parents could not pay their children school feeding fees. After Wellspring training on modules, on leadership modules, servant leaders, as school leaders as servant leaders, school leaders as trust builders, school leaders as team builders. They went back home and went to their schools to put into practice what they have learned at Wellspring. They tried to take steps of reconciliation of those teachers of the two different sections and try to unite them. Now those teachers are taking lunch. It took time, but nowadays they share lunch together. One teacher of primary can go to the teacher of secondary to ask some advice or to ask some documents to plan a lesson. Now they live in harmony. Those school leaders and those teachers that have been trained went to the community and mobilized parents with the General School Assembly, and nowadays those parents are paying the school feeding fees at the level that nowadays they have 4 million as a reserve on their accounts. Another testimony is that a teacher multiplier who was behaving like a lion at school, he testified himself that he was behaving like a lion in a school or in a classroom. But after being trained on behavior management and worldview and values, he said he has completely changed. In a class, he's advising learners. He doesn't use stick anymore as he used to use, beating, abusing children in a class. Nowadays, learners do not fear him. They love him. Of course, they love the course he teaches. And learners do not dodge the class anymore. They love the school rather than going or selling the sugar canes.
Wellspring Community Involvement Team in Rubavu is supporting parents and the wider community to be involved in the children's education and to support the schools in general. We provide some trainings to parents representatives who on their side go back and train their fellow parents. During last time, we have provided 3 trainings. First of all, the first one is about the parent-school-teacher relationship. Another one is about healthy families and education. And another one is about asset-based community development approach, ABCD. After these trainings, the parents went back to their schools and started doing some activities that brought some changes in the schools. We have seen them being involved in supporting the school leaders to for a better management of the school assets. We have seen parents being involved in building some infrastructures like schools, classrooms, and some multi-purpose halls. All this is done to reduce the big size classes, because in our region, in our district, Rubavu, there are many children in one class. It's above 80 children per class, and parents are involved to reduce this. We can see also parents being involved to reduce dropout. We have many cases of children who dropped out, and parents who have been trained by Wellspring go house to house to sensitize parents to bring back children who dropped out. So with this, parents are doing a great job to support the children's education and the schools in general. Thank you.
So great to hear from those guys. I love Ernest and his enthusiasm. Like, good morning. One of my fondest memories of Ernest was my first trip in Rwanda. The container arrived and he just ran out jumping and cheering. We have a photo of it somewhere. Just awesome. I love hearing, especially from Emmanuel, about the ABCD work that we do. Joel, got any thoughts from those guys there?
Yeah, to talk about what Ernest was mentioning about leadership and the teachers working together at the school, it's so true. I mean, even here in North America, there's kind of a little bit of tension between the school leadership and the teachers. But in Rwanda, I really felt the tension. The schools, I visited the school, I worked at the academy. It exists, and the divide between the two. And in that 3 years, I remember one school specifically seeing they get closer and closer together. I could think of the school Gikomero,
right,
in Savo. Huge impact. At the very beginning, there was such a divide between the leader and the parents and the teachers and not working together. And by the end, I remember my last visit, I went to go to Gikomero, collaborating, all sitting around the same table together in a circle, and parents engaged. And then what Emmanuel was talking about was ABCD, the parents. At Gikomero School, there was a big storm last year about this time, and roofs were ripped off from the wind, and the school was quite damaged, and it was quite awful. And using ABCD, using the parents' resources and their assets, they put the school back together, and it was damaged heavily. The roof was ripped off, and new paint had to be done, new electrical work had to be done, and using everything in the local community, they're able to piece it back together, not depending on the government. And it was them doing it. So I totally agree with those guys. And the importance of leadership is very important in Rwanda. They respect their leaders immensely, and the leaders have to work together. And that's what Wellspring has done. They've supported that process.
For sure. Thanks so much, Joel. Yeah. One of the reasons we invited you here today, Joel, is that not only you've been part of witnessing the impact firsthand, as you've been sharing, right? You've also played a key part in transforming the ways in which Wellspring measures our impact, right? So you hinted at this thing called merit. You have another fun name for it. I think we're going to get to that in a second, though. What I want to do now is we want to delve into that a little bit more, but I want to hear from Tracy DeGraff, who you know Tracy as well, right? Who was working with us here a couple of years ago now, helping us with some monitoring and evaluation. So she was really instrumental in helping Wellspring take our efforts in monitoring and evaluation to the next level. And so she's going to give us just a brief introduction into why it is so important.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Hi everyone at Wellspring, this is Tracy DeGraff calling in from Alberta. I'm so happy that I could be with you today online and to get the opportunity to talk about what I was part of about 3 years ago. I was invited into the Wellspring community to work on monitoring and evaluation, and part of the team that initially set up something called Merit. And it's an online platform that allowed me to access data, whether I was in Rwanda or whether I was in Canada, to be able to see what was going on in the field from day to day. Why that's important and why that's exciting is because you get real-time information and you can piece together real-time pictures about what's happening in the lives of the people on the ground. So the lives of the people that Wellspring is trying to help. Why monitoring and evaluation is important is because we can be driving in Rwanda down a road in the middle of the day and see an 8-year-old walking down the street and wonder why. Why is she not in school? But unless we start asking the questions, why is she not in school, and going to the people, going to the student, going to the teachers, going to the parents and the homes and the communities that they live in, and actually looking further into it, you're just making assumptions why that child isn't in school. So when you start answering the questions, you can really start to shape program that's effective for that child. So I remember I was in a meeting, it was about 3 years ago, when merit system was demoed in front of me where we're sitting in Rwanda and Kigali. And I literally jumped up out of my seat and I had to move around, and we kind of started doing the happy dance because it was just such an exciting, innovative platform that would help an international team that lived in different parts of the world work cohesively all together to really form an effective program. So that's why I was excited to be part of the Wellspring team. At the time, they were setting up merit and doing monitoring evaluation. What I saw on the ground, what I saw of the people and the trainers, and the respect that I saw from the community for Wellspring, just to this day makes me excited and so grateful to be part of. So have a great conference. Sorry, not a conference. Have a great celebration for your online gala this year, and thanks for inviting me in.
So great to hear from Tracy now. Of course, I was on that trip as well, and I was sitting in that room as Merit was being demoed, and I remember her jumping up, and you were mentioning this earlier too, Joel, that you remember that as well.
I do, yeah.
It was just like, Tracy understands why this is so important, as we've just heard in that video, and then all of a sudden you found a local company called Kiza Solutions, right, that could help start to implement this. So can you tell us more about Merit?
Right. So just to give you some context, I didn't really want to have a North American company coming in and doing things. I wanted to be a local company. So what is this thing called Merit that we keep on talking about? Merit stands for, I think that's really important to clarify, it stands for monitoring and evaluation, reporting with integrated technologies. So there's tons of acronyms in Wellspring. There's CBC, ABCD, CI. We could go on and on with acronyms. So we sat around and we came up with Merit. Again, it stands for monitoring and evaluation, reporting with integrated technologies. So there is so much data in Rwanda with Wellspring, and they collect amazing data. However, it would take a long time for all that to get back to North America, to send out reports, to send out information to their donors. And we were sitting around, and it would take like about 3 months to get those stories out there. And it's too long. You need instant feedback. That's why Merit was created, and it was a long process, but definitely worth it now.
Yeah, I know specifically as communications director, one of the things there are so many stories, right? Jeff Heath talked about this in the film that we watched on him sharing about his experience with Wellspring. He's like, I could share 100 more stories like the stories that he had been sharing. There's so many stories of transformation, and we want to be sharing that with partners. And everybody is so busy in Rwanda doing the work. They had to do some of this off the side of their desk to get us stories. All that information was there. We just didn't have a way to access it easily. And that's just looking at that's just looking from communicating stories to people. And so now our team here in Canada can log into the system, can look through the impact story section and see pictures, little tidbits of stories, and then reach out to a trainer, whoever filled in the report, to say, hey, do you think next time you're at that school, you could find out more about this story for me? So that's kind of one side of it. Now, Merit made a huge difference when we rolled it out, because we were moving into Rubavu, a brand new district. We'd been working in Gisabo, and we didn't have that. And as we moved into Rubavu, we rolled out Merit, And now, what did that allow us to do, Joel, that has really transformed our work?
Right. I think one of the most important things is when we went into Rubavu, it was a brand new district, and we were able to collect the baselines from the very beginning in Merit. And what it looks like, that's why it's called integrated technologies. To give you example is they would go into the schools, the trainers, the Wellspring workers, and they would do observations before. Let me actually just back up a little bit in Gasabo, how it kind of was done before. And they would use pen and paper, taking notes and getting pieces of paper and going back to the office at Wellspring headquarters. And it would take quite a long time to get all that information into graphs and to Excel spreadsheets. But with Merit, with the iPad in a local rural Rubavu school with no internet access, that's the best thing. It's all offline as well. They're collecting the data on the device real time, and then they're just tapping on buttons. And then we could collect all the baselines at one point. And then from there, we can compare, okay, here's where we were at the very beginning of Rubavu, and then kind of see kind of progression in all these different modules, see real-time graphs. And when they bring that device back to headquarters or when they hit the internet, it uploads to a server. And we're able to see it here in North America. So I know Jason has seen it. I know Louise has seen it, Sarah, all you guys. And it's just sped up the process immensely. It's more effective. Pictures, impact stories. So it was really exciting. I remember Tracy jumping up and down, like she said, seeing that. She literally got out of a chair and happy dance.
I remember Andy was also at that meeting and sitting at the table, and he just turned and looked at me and was like, wow, yes. Right? Like we just knew what an impact this makes. So Joel, you touched on something there, and we didn't kind of give an overview, but essentially our trainers, when they're going into schools now, they're using iPad minis. And they have an app on there that allows them to input the data in real time as they're seeing things. They can take notes. We also got them styluses so they could write stuff and would convert it to text. They can be taking pictures, and they have a SIM card in them. So if they do have a connection where they can send over data, that would be going as they were doing it. And as Joel mentioned, once they get back to the office or back to an internet connection, it would then upload that information into this database where we could then log in from really anywhere in the world and get access to that information. So yeah, and you touched on a really important thing there. As we went into Rubavu, when we started working in Gasabo, we never had data for where things were when we first started, right? Whereas in Rubavu, we went in and the first thing we did was starting to do assessments, and now we were able to set a baseline to see where the schools were at in a variety of different numbers, right? Metrics that we wanted to track. So now, over the last few years, as we continue to do evaluations of those schools, as trainers are going back in, we actually now we know exactly how much schools have improved or not, how rates have gone, dropout rates, everything. We know because we had that baseline, right? So that has been really huge. Tracy touched on it, how you see a girl walking down the road when she should be in school and you don't know why she's not in school. Well, we can start to answer some of those questions based on the data that we have now to make decisions based on that information on how we deliver our program now, right? So Joel, you played a huge part in that. And I know we haven't talked about that a whole lot, but a lot of time trying to learn that system yourself, walking alongside Blaze, being the bridge to Kiza to help a lot of that happen. And thank you so much for the work there. I mean, that was a really big part of what you were doing for Wellspring Foundation there, but you also had a great role at the Academy as well. Before you go, I'm wondering if you'd share a little bit more about your dreams for the future of education in Rwanda. What are your hopes for students like some of those that we saw in the film today?
Right. I think a good visual for it is my friend Erica. Actually, we all know maybe Erica Taylor, if you're listening to this. She gave the visual one time of being in a bike race, and she was in this bike race for the lake to lake there, and she was pedaling along, and she was struggling during the bike race and going up and down these hills, and she just was getting nowhere and going so slow and find it very challenging. And then at the very end, she discovered, I don't know if you know the story, Jason, or not, but her brakes were kind of locked up against her tire the whole time as she's trying to do this lake to lake, and struggled. And the next day she realized and took it off and she could fly.
Yeah, yeah. We
And that,
we actually
that
captured that story. We put a little film together. It should be on our Lake to Lake website where people could watch that if they wanted to. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it's a great visual for where I see not only Rwanda's education sector, but Rwanda as a whole. I think by having those breaks locked on, that's maybe where a lot of them were. But with Wellspring's support, removing those barriers that we've been talking about, whether it be gender inequality, whether it be access to school, you name it. Wellspring is working from the government level all the way down to the school leaders, the teachers, the parents, and releasing those barriers so that kids can thrive and kids can grow. So that would be my dream. And Wellspring is already doing that. I think another dream would be, right now we're in 2 districts, Gasabo and Rubavu, and they do it so well and they go so deep with those 2 districts. I love to see it spread across the rest of Rwanda, not just those 2 districts, but to take those same practices. The government often calls upon Wellspring for advice and support, and that's what they're doing right now, even with how to make learning happen during this COVID crisis, and going to Wellspring. And the fact that we're working side by side with them is amazing. So Wellspring's done a great job in so many different areas. So that'd be my dream for kids, that they can have those barriers removed and they can just continue to fly and do their best.
Well, thank you so much, Joel, for taking the time to join us today. I know, obviously, with your kids at home too, and kids are having to learn, and they've got calls scheduled all different times. So it's great that you could eke out some time to be with us. Yeah, and I know as a teacher, you're kind of navigating this whole new world of online learning for your students as well. So just thank you again so much, Joel. It's really great to see you too. So
great, good to see you too.
All right, take care.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
So before we take a break, we are actually going to jump into an update to see how our silent auction and our fundraising efforts are going. So I am just going to call on Barb. I'm going to have her up here in a second to give us a finance update, but I want to get, maybe it's Shauna and Christy today. No, it's just Christy. So I'm going to get Christy up here and we'll find out where our silent auction is at the moment. If I can find Christy, let me just grab her. No, I don't have her. Christy, if you are watching, if you could give me a call, that would be awesome. Maybe I'll try grab Barb first and we'll get a finance update. How does that sound? Let's try get Barb first. Barb is coming. She is just getting, she's just getting ready to chat with me. And I also going to try track down Christy here as well. So let me find her. There we go. Let's add her to the call, please. Christy, we'll see if Christy comes along. There we go. Christy's coming. Barb is coming. There we go. I'm going to bring Christy up first to give us an update on where we're at with our silent auction. So let's get her on there. Hello.
Is Sean live as well?
Hello, Christy. So I have you. I thought Kelly was coming as well, but maybe it's just you this morning. So
it's Shauna as well this morning.
Oh, Shauna too. Okay, so let me track.
She's waiting.
Let me track down. Do you want to start and I'll get Shauna on this call and maybe you can give us a little, or is that all right?
Well, sure. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, we're really excited for the silent auction and all the activity that's gone on there. Yesterday, our team cheered when we passed the $10,000 mark on the silent auction. So we're really excited about that. And yeah, we've got another great day planned and looking forward to yeah, just seeing some of these silent auctions bump up and some of the buy it now items are still available. Would love to see some of those get sold. One of our favorite parts of the silent auction is sharing with you items that we've brought back from Rwanda. This is not an easy task. Wanted to let you guys know when we transport these items back thousands of miles with us, it is sometimes it's a miracle that they arrive back safely in Canada. And so we package them with care, but we bring them on airplanes and action packers, and it's a challenging thing to do. And so it's a joy when we get to share them with you. And this year we have several wood carved items, and wanted to just feature a few of those this morning. We have 2 sets of elephant bookends that we're selling in our silent auction. And if you look closely, the detailing on these elephants is just phenomenal. And so, yeah, I would love to see some more bids on those. We also have 4 wood carved bowls, just lovely, unique items. And the live edge bowl, it looks like it's going very well. And we also have a set of wood carved agaseki piece baskets. And these are beautiful pieces as well. And 1 carved elephant made it safely back with us. So we would love to find a wonderful home for that elephant. So
I do know.
I
I have a nice large wood carved giraffe that I forgot I mentioned the other day to bring down to the office. So I still have it here with me, and I have 2 smaller pairs of giraffes together. They're about the 12-inch high ones. Anyways, you'll see them on there. I have Shauna here with us now too, Christy. I don't know if do we need her up on screen with you? Shall I do that?
Yeah, great. Yeah, that would be wonderful. Shauna, actually, she's our resident foodie on the Wellspring team, and she's a great cook, and she loves trying new restaurants, new experiences. And so, Shauna, why don't you tell us about a few of the amazing food items that we have?
Yeah, grocery shopping is, I know for some people it's a chore, but I actually love it. It's like my favorite part of the day, just going and exploring the shops and seeing what new things I can find. So right now it's definitely a bit more of a challenge. Obviously, we're relying on deliveries and what we can order online, and sometimes what comes to your door. But if you're looking to spice your kitchen up a little bit during this time, we have a lot of really cool food items that have been donated by different companies from all BC actually. So we've got Davison Orchards, which is out in Vernon. They've got a little gift basket on our site as well. They do jams and wonderful things like that. They also have a shop that you can go to and pick stuff up directly from them, especially during fruit season. Would be the high time to hit that one up. Level Ground is an amazing partner of Wellspring. They've been supporting us and our auctions for years. And so there's a pantry basket there with coffee and some spices and some tea. And that was really tasty stuff. I've actually got a load of it myself that I'm waiting to pick up from our office still. And then we have this foodie pack. We've had some local companies who make different sauces and cooking spices and things like that have donated to us. So check that one out. That one's really cool and a nice way to just switch up what you're making at home. So if you want a treat, we have Kizzy's Macarons in Maple Ridge. They make delicious macarons, and so there's some credit there that you can buy stuff from their bakery. So lots going on. Just a way to treat yourself while we're hanging out at home these days.
Cool.
That's great.
I guess that's it for silent auction. Hey, marketplace and all that, everything is wonderful. It's going good, and yeah.
Yeah, and actually this is our last 24 hours to bid. So the silent auction and marketplace will close tomorrow at noon BC time. So we're just about on the 24-hour mark, and then it'll be 2 p.m. in Manitoba, 3 p.m. in Ontario, and on from there. So until then, keep those bids up and have some fun. And Jason, I hope to see you bidding on there as well.
Yes. Yes, I heard Yale. I might want to jump in on that action there with Chris and Andy, and we'll see what happens. Well, thank you, Christy.
Family pass, it's perfect.
Yeah, right. And it's a good bang for buck for me with 6 of us, so that's great. So
it really is.
I am going to let you go, Christy, I think, right? That's okay. Shauna, can you hang around for 1 second, because there's a draw happening, right? And
yes.
Maybe you could just explain a little bit that. I tried to take a chance at it yesterday, and this is a good segue into the finance update from Barb in just a minute here too.
Yeah, sure. So what we're doing for the draw, it's something that we do at the gala every year, but we're taking it online this year. We didn't want to miss out on that fun part of our event. So when you make a donation, Barb has a lovely spreadsheet, and she's keeping track, and she's putting your name into a bowl, and we're going to draw at the end of Saturday. So Saturday at midnight, will be the end of the chance to get your name in. But when you make that donation, you get put in for a prize. And so we have 5 prizes that we're going to give away at the end of the week. Each going to be $100 to Indigo. So you've got a chance to buy a book or a game or some new home decor while you're hanging out at your place, and also a bag of Republica coffee. And it's actually Rwandan coffee beans. They're a local company here in Fort Langley, BC, and their stuff is amazing, and it's a staff favorite cafe. So that's what each package is going to be. So when you get your donations in, hopefully you'll get a chance to win those ones.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shauna. I'm going to let you go, and I am going to turn this over to Barb. So thank you so much, Shauna. We'll chat soon.
Sounds good.
Hi, Barb. I'm going to split screen
Hello.
with you just to start off with how are things going?
Things are going great. Donations have been coming in like crazy. And I was picturing a telethon yesterday and just wanted to say, and there's phone lines open.
All right.
But we're not using the phone. But anyways, yes, with the silent auction, the matching grant, currently we're sitting at very close to $149,000 that has come in.
What?
Yes, I know. Isn't that amazing? We still have $30,800 that's available for matching. So we can still have donations coming in that will be matched 2 for 1, which is pretty exciting with generous donors that have provided that for us. So feel free to be online, give your donation. If you want to send it in by mail because you don't like using the credit card online system, then just send us a note and we'll be able to add you in, knowing it's coming in the mail, and I can add your name in for the draw. So pretty excited. We're really encouraged by so many donors that are helping the children and the communities in Rwanda.
That is amazing. So I just want to make sure that I understand correctly. So you said that there's still 30,800 roughly left to be matched. Wow. So the next $30,000 given dollar for dollar will be matched thanks to the generous donors. Yeah. Amazing. That is great. Well, thank you so much, Barb. I will let you go now, and we are just going to wrap up and head into our next section. So thanks for that update, Barb.
Wonderful. Thanks, everyone.
All right. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye. So that's just absolutely fantastic to hear. That's just amazing. So you can give scrolling across the bottom of the screen there, wellspring.ngo/give. As Barb's just told us, there's almost $31,000 left that can be matched dollar for dollar in our matching grant. And that's just amazing, right? About almost $150,000 here on day 3 of the Stay Home Gala. We have a goal of $250,000 by the end of Saturday. So it looks like we're on track. That's absolutely amazing. So thank you for joining us for this second segment of the day as we've explored the incredibly encouraging impact that quality education is having and that we actually all get to be a part of. So we're taking another short break. We are going to be back at 12:15 Pacific, 3:15 Eastern, and we are going to hear from our CEO, Andy Harrington. So we'll see you guys then.
One of the things that, in thinking about Wellspring and what I would say today, what really strikes me, my first thoughts is not just the passion, but the conviction that everybody in this organization has. Whether it's the people on the ground, it's Andy and Richard and the conviction that shines through. They are not just an organization, they are a movement changing a country. And they're so invested in this, and what they're doing is so eternal, and they're bought into it 1,000%. Everybody that we work with or we touch with Wellspring, it's in their DNA. It's who they are. It's not just what they are. And today, making do on a shoestring, they're changing an entire country on a budget that should be enough to maybe change a small village or town, but they're changing thousands and thousands of lives and impacting an entire country for generations to come. No one does more with less than what Wellspring does, and they do it to an excellence that's just beyond compare. They stack up against everybody else in doing what they're doing. And we just want to be a part of that. How can you not want to be part of an organization that has that excellence, has that conviction, has that basically a kingdom return on investment? That's what we're all about, and that's why we've been involved with Wellspring, and we will be involved with Wellspring going forward. Thanks, Wellspring.
Thanks, Tim, and welcome back, everyone. We're really looking forward to having Andy on here in just a few minutes on the live stream, because we want to hear him share not only about the latest from Rwanda, but how each one of us can play a part in seeing the kind of impact that we've been sharing about today. Before Andy joins us, we just want to take a moment to share again the new short film that was premiered yesterday. This film looks at the significant barriers that children face to receiving their full primary and secondary education. But it also shares about the impact that Wellspring is having as together we overcome barriers to quality education.
Here at GS Buringo, in primary school we have 1,232 students in primary. In secondary, it's quite half of that number. It is 627 students.
The first purpose of P6 exams is to evaluate learners, to determine their level of performance, where they are since they have completed this level of education. So what have they taken from that level?
But those who do well, they work very well, excellently. They go in very good schools, like in boarding school, like different schools which are very better.
Others will have to go to 9 and 12-year basic education schools, and then others may end up just going to the streets.
Those are students who go to grow cabbages. One. Those are students who go to get a car. Those are people who get pregnancy at an age. Those are people who their life is worse.
Yeah, the challenge I face is it's quite a big number of students. To ensure that I'm reaching every child, it's not easy.
In the class, you may find between 40, 60, and other classes, 80 students in the class. It is a challenge. You see, teachers don't know the strategies to use or method to use so that they can teach the big number of students. As a tool of behavior management, they use stick. Because of that, students are disappointed. Imagine you are hungry and then you come to school, and then if you once you disturb the teacher beats you. As a solution, what do? You leave the class, you drop out.
Yeah, some of other challenges we face includes parents who don't understand why they need to support their children. For example, when we give them homeworks, they don't support, and also they don't have even school materials.
Because many parents think that if you have paid school fees and you have got school uniform and you've given your child school materials and then you've sent them to school, that is enough. And then what is remaining is the role of the teacher and the school to make sure that learners learn well. But they don't understand that their role goes beyond that.
Yeah, Wellspring taught us how to manage learners in classroom, and they taught us that children shouldn't have only knowledge, but also should have values.
Pre-primary teachers didn't know how to use even the curriculum when teaching, but last time we have them. We started with them, and really they gave us feedback which make our hearts very happy. They said, now you see, today now we know how to use these books, yet we had them without knowing how to use them. Now parents understood that they have to work with their children and help them to come to school. Now today they are the ones who push those children to go to school.
Our dream to these children is to give them the knowledge and skills needed so that they can help them to live well in their society.
I believe that every child has a role to play in society. And for anyone to be able to play their role in society effectively, they need to understand what their role is. They need to be able to be equipped with the skills and competences of how to do that. And the only place that can be built, it is in education. And part of the competences of being in society, they need also to develop the heart of loving people and helping them. And then since education is one tool that can help people to be able to achieve that, I believe that every child deserves that.
And welcome back. I am happy to invite our CEO, Andy Harrington, back to our stream today. Andy, got you up split screen with me? It's great to have you here.
Thanks,
Jason. It's good to be here. I'm particularly enjoying your Wayne's World basement studio there.
Thank you. Yeah. And it is kind of Wayne's World basement studio. It is. It is. You can't see it all, which is good. Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for letting me be here, Jason. I just wanted to say I'm really glad that you and I are both wearing red today. I think everybody understands the significance of this day as the country here in Canada is mourning with our compatriots in Nova Scotia. So that's why we're wearing red. Yeah. We're very aware that a terrible tragedy has happened there in the midst of another tragedy unfolding across the world. And we just wanted to pay our respects today as well. That's right. I also, it's been a real privilege just watching the live stream. And so my job today, and it's a job I'm proud of, is to give you all an update on what Wellspring has been up to over these last couple of weeks, but more than that, what we intend to be doing as we go forward into the future. So we watched a film from G.S. Baringo. I was actually there when that film was shot. It's a wonderful film. It was actually very emotional. And for those of you who were on the live stream yesterday, you would have seen an outtake that we actually took from the film with Beatrice, who's the Wellspring trainer you see there. She was talking about girls' education. If you haven't had a chance to see that yet, go onto our website and have a look, because it's a profoundly moving film. And that's the heart of Wellspring. Not just girls, boys as well, but making sure that people have the opportunity, young people have the opportunity to get an education that will change their lives forever. That's our heart. That's what we beat for. And we work with nearly 200,000 children directly, with over 3,300 teachers in 134 school communities and in well over 500 actual village communities across the country of Rwanda. And it's an important work. And more than that, we use that as a model for what education in Rwanda can be. Our country director, Libby, heads up the platform, the organization, the association that links nearly 100 other NGOs together in the education sphere in Rwanda. And we have a footprint in other countries as well. So that's our heart. We really believe that education can change everything. But like all of us, wherever we are in the world, we're facing a unique crisis at the moment. Schools here in Canada are locked down. We're all sitting in our basements and rooms. I don't know where you are watching this, but I'm sure you're in a similar situation to all of us. Here in Canada, our team has had to close the office. We're all working from home. You've had a chance to see our homes. I don't know if you're anything like me, but on all these live streams, I'm constantly peering around the back thinking, oh, that's a nice place. Or, wow, not sure about that place. We're all working from home. We've had to cancel a whole bunch of events. The reason why we're doing this gala online is we couldn't meet as we normally do at the Western Bayshore here in Vancouver with nearly 500 of you. We can't meet with you in the Okanagan like we were going to be doing in a couple of weeks' time. We can't meet with you in Ontario like we were hoping to do, in Alberta like we were planning to do last week. We've just not been able to do that. And so that's why we're running this event online. It's hard, isn't it? But let me tell you what it's like in Rwanda at the moment. I have regular daily contact with our team in Rwanda. I'm on regular video conferencing calls with them, and I've got a latest update that I want to give you today. In Rwanda, they've also had a lockdown. The lockdown has been a little bit more dramatic, shall we say, than ours. And the reason for that is actually a very good reason. Rwanda does not have the medical facilities that we have. And so they've decided, quite rightly, to put their protection measures around the border. And they've done it very well. They were very close to the Ebola outbreak that happened last year. And so they spent a lot of time and finance investing in a good protection and monitoring system. I was there last month. I was monitored 3 times crossing borders, at times when we didn't even know we were going to be doing anything here in Canada. And the reason why they've done that is because they know that should COVID get into the country in a deep measure, it will run riot. It's a densely packed country, one of the most densely packed countries in the world. Nearly 13 million people crammed into a place the size of Vancouver Island, or Wales if you're watching in the UK. And they can't afford, with the lack of medical facilities there are for this thing to run riot. So that has meant a major lockdown. That in turn has meant a major economic collapse. Many of the communities that we work in are very economically fragile. And so when they're locked down, when borders are closed, especially in the district of Rubavu, which is a major one for us, right on the border of DRC, where an awful lot of the people there go into the DRC, into the city of Goma, which is 10 times larger than the nearest city in Rubavu. They go there, they sell goods, they sell food and everything. That border is now closed. And the economic fragility of that area has absolutely imploded. So what we have now is a situation where schools are closed, where people are trying to socially distance in an African village, if you can imagine how hard that is, where people who already were struggling to know how they would put food on the table tomorrow or the next day now have no ability to do that whatsoever. And where we have a situation where should COVID break out in a major way, there will be enormous health consequences. And I don't know if you've seen the news, but COVID is growing in Africa. It is in Rwanda. Detected cases are lower than here in Canada. But at the same time, should it break out further, it will be difficult, and there isn't the kind of testing that we have here. And that's not in any way to insult our friends in Rwanda, who have done a remarkable job of actually trying to keep it out of the country. So that's what we're dealing with. All at the same time as trying to keep our focus on education. So what has been Wellspring's response? Well, our response to the immediate situation has been fivefold. First of all, we've joined with the Rwandan government in an initiative called Keeping Learning Alive. And what that actually means is moving education onto the airwaves. Here in Canada, we were talking to Joel Olson earlier, who's actually doing online teaching through video conferencing and other ways with his 29 students at his school in Langley. The kids we have don't have that opportunity. Our kids do not have internet access. They don't have televisions. They live in often mud brick built houses with perhaps 2 rooms and maybe 6 to 10 people living there. They don't have access to that kind of thing. So what they do have access to, though, many of them, is a radio. And so what we're doing with the Rwandan government and some of our key partners is to take the whole of the Rwandan curriculum, or a good chunk of it, and turn that into radio lessons. Wellspring has taken a lead on that in 2 ways. First of all, we personally have written and got together over 50 lessons for the P4 to P6 age range that we're very passionate about. That's primary 4 to primary 6. Primary 1 to primary 6, we're doing work on that. So we've already written well over 50 lessons, more in the pipeline as well. That's a lot of work for our trainers, but they've done it, and we'll be producing them for Radio Rwanda. We're just waiting on the government to approve those scripts. Beyond that, though, our country director, Libby, has taken a leading role in bringing a number of organizations together to produce hundreds more. So that's an incredible effort, if you can imagine. For those of you who have any educational knowledge, you'll know how hard it is to take a curriculum and turn that in a 4-week period into something that can be put out over the airways. Our team has done a remarkable job, and we continue to do that to support the Rwandan government. And we need to do that because dropout is such a big issue in Rwanda. And the longer these kids are out of school, the greater that dropout issue will be. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Secondly, and this has been a crucial thing, and I have an update that literally came in about 2 hours ago to me. I mentioned that hunger is growing in the regions we work in. I don't know how many of you have ever faced hunger. I'm not talking about the sort of hunger that says, I fancy a snack tonight. I'm talking about the sort of hunger that says, I haven't eaten for a long time and I have no ability to eat as far as I can see in the future. I'm talking about the anxiety and the desperation that that causes. Wellspring has had to respond to that. It's not our normal field of operations. We do education. But how can you ask a child to gather around the radio and listen to a math lesson when all they can think about is their empty belly? How can you support a parent to ask them to keep their kids in education when they're hungry? And so Wellspring has taken the initiative to provide nearly 36 tons of food for our partners in the district of Rwanda. It's been distributed through a very well set up system to those who are most vulnerable. We've already fed over 1,000 families and given them enough food to supply them for at least 2 weeks. That's about 6,000 people. Today, we authorize the purchase of the remainder of that 36 tons. It's about another 15 tons, about 16,000 kilograms of food that is being sourced this weekend and will be distributed in the next 4 days to more. We may do more as well, depending on what the need is. We had to do it. Even though we didn't have the funds set aside for that or anything else. We could not abandon those people. Thirdly, we have been looking at how do we support the leaders and the parents in the schools that we work in. As I've mentioned, it's much harder to socially isolate in Rwanda. It's much harder to figure out how you can keep your kids in a house when they're so used to going and playing with the village kids. It's really, really difficult. And it's also really hard to figure out how can you keep education alive when everything's locked down. We have worked so hard with our partners to get what was a pretty dysfunctional system becoming functional, and we can't afford to lose those gains. Kids' futures are at stake. So we've put together a pack, a kind of guidance thing, one for leaders who are now leading schools across the hills of Rwanda, and one for parents. We are distributing that right now, actually, and more in the near future to come. We're using WhatsApp, we're using phone calls, because we can't email it to people. We've examined whether it can go out on the radio. We're looking at potential, putting flyers together, whatever it takes to get it out there. The most important thing, though, is personal contact. So our team are thoroughly engaged at the moment in calling every individual leader, WhatsApping them, calling community leaders, calling parents, hundreds and hundreds of calls on WhatsApp happening to keep people engaged in the education of their kids. At the same time, we're also working with a partner organization that focuses on girls to come up with some guidance and some help and some resources for young women. Some of the areas we work in have high degrees of gender-based violence. We all know, and we've all seen on television news, that violence in households is growing around the world. We are facing that in Rwanda, and particularly for those of you who watched Baya's very emotional video yesterday about the issues that girls face, about how men play with them, as she said. We have to protect young women. And so we're working with a partner organization to come up with resources that we can get into the hands of young women at this time. We've also liberated some of our vehicles. We have some vehicles in Rwanda and an amazing group of drivers who drive them, because some of the schools we go to, there are no roads to get to them. They're out in the bush, and so we have vehicles to do that. The Rwandan government is doing an amazing job at responding to COVID, and they asked for our help. And so we've liberated 3 vehicles and 3 drivers who are currently, even as we speak, part of the COVID task force that's working to address COVID in Rwanda. They're running doctors around, they're running food supplies, they're running PPE to hospitals, they're doing all sorts of things, and we're glad to be a part of that national effort. What about what comes next? Well, one of the things we need to look at is getting kids back to school. And when kids go back to school, they'll go back to schools like you just saw, GS Baringo. It's not a school like we know over here. It doesn't have the sanitation facilities we have over here. So we are currently working to assess what is the sanitation level of every school we work in. And for those of you who've been to Rwanda, you will have seen there are wash stations, not that little, but wash stations scattered around some of the schools. We've been instrumental through our asset-based community development programs in working with parents to put those wash stations in. We know there need to be a lot more, because what are we all doing here in Canada and in America and in UK? We're washing our hands for 20 seconds. These places don't have running water, so we have to look at that. So we are looking to set aside at least $20,000 to $30,000 to equip our schools with a lot more wash stations, possibly more. We'll know for sure next week once we've completed our survey of school leaders to work out what we need to do. But we have to do that, because we can't let those kids go back into unsanitary conditions where COVID could run riot. Why are we doing all this? We're doing this for one very clear reason. We believe in the people of Rwanda, in the people of East Africa. And we particularly believe that education is crucial to the development of not only good economic potential for those countries and those kids as they grow older, but for the character and values that a Christian-based quality values education can bring out in people's lives. We know that in the crisis that happened in 1994 in Rwanda, where nearly 1 million people lost their lives, education was profoundly misused in order to teach genocidal ideology. And one of the reasons why Wellspring exists is so that we can see that education system transform to teach great values, to teach human rights, to show kids that they are worthy, to show the same justice, dignity, and worth that Jesus prefers on all of us and on the children of Canada, America, the UK, wherever you're watching. Every child is special. Shauna yesterday said something very profound in one of our live links. She said that we always bring it back to the individual child, and we do. There's numbers that we throw out, tens of thousands of kids we work with, but in my mind, in my head right now, I think of individual children, kids that I know, kids that I've met. I think of the children that you saw on the, if for those of you who were watching earlier, you saw in our picture, our video, literally one of the young boys talking about wanting to become a doctor to combat coronavirus. I think of those kids. I think of those who haven't yet got to that stage. They count. They're special. They are absolutely a part of the reason. They're the total reason of why we should be in Rwanda. Currently, there are 63 million kids at primary age that are out of school, and yet we talk about having universal education. More than half of those children are in sub-Saharan Africa, where we work. It's estimated that overall, over 130 million girls are not in education at the moment. They're not in school. And I don't know if you know this, but there would be 171 million people a year 171 million people less living in poverty if we gave them basic reading skills. Teen pregnancy is something we deal with all the time in Rwanda. For every year of schooling, pregnancy falls by 5 to 10%. And again, Bea talked about that so passionately yesterday. Check the video out. The World Bank has said that the two most profoundly important aspects of development to change a country, to change the future, are health systems, and boy, are we seeing that right now, and education. Education counts. Every child has potential. Doesn't matter whether you're a Canadian, whether you're British, whether you're American, or whether you're Rwandan. We live in a world that talks about building walls nowadays, that talks about keeping people out, that talks about the other, that you are different from me, your skin is different, your passport says a different thing. We are all human beings created in the image of God. There is no other. There's just us, all of us together. That's this world, and if we didn't know that now, surely we know that now in the midst of the COVID crisis, where we surely need to be more together, even though we're apart. We've used this word, turikumwe, throughout this week. Turikumwe, turikumwe, turikumwe. It means we are together in Rwanda, and we are linked across the world. And so, here in this moment, I want to ask you to join together with us. The reason why we're running this gala is because we couldn't run our gala in Vancouver and the other events, and that left us with a $500,000 funding hole. On top of that, we have estimated it could cost us as much as $200,000 overall to respond to the COVID crisis with the children that we work with. It's an estimate, but we think it's a hard one. We can repurpose about $200,000 of our budget without hurting too much, because we're not able to go into schools at the moment, but that still leaves us a $500,000 shortfall. So every cent that we're raising here on this gala is going towards meeting that. I was so delighted that Barb said we're at nearly $150,000 already. We have another $100,000 to go, and some of that will be matched. And I want to ask you to come and stand with us. I want to ask you to be part of what we're doing. I want to ask you to help make education a reality in Rwanda, that it could be something that truly changes the lives of these children. Now, I am a person of faith. I'm a Christian. I don't know if everyone watching this live link is. I hope that doesn't put you off. I know that in many ways, Christians have not conducted themselves as they should have done in these last few years. But I also know that you can tell the fruit by the taste. That's what Jesus makes very clear to us. And one of the things that I want to show Christians about my faith is that we truly care for the poor. The world says God has forgotten you to the poor. We want to show them that's not true. Jesus said in Matthew 25, I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me. And then the righteous will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you? Or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in? Or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? And the king will reply, truly, I tell you, whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me. So what are we going to do? Are we going to walk away and abandon these children? No, we're not. We're going to be there for them. We're going to be there to feed them and their families. We're going to be there to make sure they have good sanitation. And when the schools come back, and they will come back, we're going to surge our operations. And we're going to be there even more than we were before. You've seen the passion of our team in Rwanda, who I honor with all of my heart. You've seen the passion we have for education. You've heard from people who've been to see what we do. You know who we are. And we know who our God is. And so we're asking you to stand with us. You're going to be getting, and you may have already got it, an appeal letter through your email any second now, sent from our communications team. And you've heard all the way through this week, and you'll hear tomorrow as well, of the needs that we have. We ask you to respond. We ask you to stand with us, not because we have a desire to continue because we must pay the salaries or anything, but because we love the children we work for. We believe they are made in the image of God, and we believe we need to work with them. I want to finish by showing you a photo of why we're in Rubavu. Do we have that photo, Jason? I think we do.
Yeah, it's up on the screen. Yeah.
Okay. It's not the best photo we've ever shot. It's a photo I took. It was taken on my phone. We have wonderful photos. You can go on our silent auction site and see some of them. You can buy some of them. But this photo is very special to me. It was taken a few years ago when we were wondering, should we work in Rubavu? We had done a big work in the capital city in Kigali. We had worked alongside the government there and seen that district, school district, turned into one of the best performing ones in Rwanda. And all of a sudden we'd been invited to go and work at the other end of the country in a much more rural place, in a place where there were way more issues, a lot of poverty, gender-based violence, all sorts of things going on. It also meant a massive financial investment for us and a real risk about whether we could make it. And so I, as the CEO, had many questions. The day that was taken, I'd gone to visit a school, and it was a school that was not in good shape, and I just looked and saw the amount of the task, and I multiplied what I saw in that school by tens of thousands across the district, and I thought, how are we going to do this? And as I was about to leave, I walked into that classroom. It's a P1 classroom. Those are young children. A lot of the girls have shaved heads, but it's about half and half of girls and boys in that class that you can see. And I know this sounds incredibly cheesy, but this is exactly what happened. As I was standing there, it had been a rainy day. There were puddles on the floor, but the sun came out, and I think you might be able to see there are windows there, but no glass, and a shaft of light came through, and I think you can see it on that picture. It doesn't come out brilliantly well, but there's one girl that gets lit up by that light, and I heard God speaking in the way that I sometimes hear him speak to me. And he said this, he said, Andy, you can come or you can go. But I'm here already whether you come or not. So whatever you decide to do, I'll be here. I'd love you to come and join me. But I'm here already with these kids. And at that moment, I personally felt we had to do it. It wasn't my decision alone. We made it as a team. But that was my moment. And I still feel that way about Rubavu. And I hope you do too. I feel that way about Rwanda, and I hope you do too. So come and join us. Come and join with what God's doing. And let's be there for the children of Rwanda. Thanks very much for listening. Turi Kumwe, we are together.
Thank you so much, Andy. That is a great word. Of course, I've heard some of those stories before, but to share that with people, to get to the heart of why we are there, why we are doing what we're doing, how we've pivoted now to meet the needs of the most vulnerable and needy in those communities where we're working now, has been huge. I've got a banner scrolling across the bottom of the screen there, just below Andy's face. You can give in response to Andy's ask there at wellspring.ngo/give. wellspring.ngo/give. Andy, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for bringing that word as well. We've had some feedback in the comments. Great word, Andy, from Carmen Rempel. Jeff has been interacting with us a lot too, and he said, yeah, he echoes what Carmen has said. So thank you so much, Andy. And again, if you are moved to support us in the work that we are doing to help us reach into those communities in the Rubavu district where we are coming alongside children, families, parents, teachers, leaders, wellspring.ngo/give. All right, Andy, I'll say bye for now, and we'll chat with you again soon.
And I just want to say thank you for all that you're doing. I know the amount of work you're putting in to make this happen, and you're making this look like a professional TV studio, man. It's incredible. I've seen those TV channels on when I turn on Shore, so thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Andy. Thank you. All right, everyone. So be sure to keep tracking along with our social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening and going on. You will see Sarah and Emily are just doing a fantastic job of sharing the bits and pieces that have come up on the live stream with you. As you know, we have a draw that Shauna mentioned earlier. So if you do give, your name goes into a draw. We have 5 prizes of a $100 gift card to Indigo, as well as some coffee from Republic of Roasters in Fort Langley. Sorry, I was drawing a blank on the name there. So you can donate. That draw will donate up to the end of Saturday, and then the draw will happen, and we'll be reaching out to you. So please interact with us on those social channels. As I mentioned, we want to hear from you as you take part in this virtual gala. And we have an exciting evening planned for you as well. Mike Jansen will be joining us on the live stream, 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern, for a concert, a live streamed concert. So if you have a chance, maybe 6 doesn't work for you, that's okay. You can always watch it again later. It'll be on demand and you can watch it. But if you do watch it at 6, as it ends, it's almost 7 o'clock and you can jump outside, bang some pots, give a cheer for our frontline workers. So thank you so much for joining us today. We will have the live stream up tonight with Mike Jansen bringing us a concert this evening. So thank you so much, and we'll speak with you again soon.